Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the program on this Wednesday as we head through this first week of March and head towards all the things that are ahead, including uh, the conference tournaments, and then, of course, Selection Sunday, and then the NCAA tournament, opening day, and everything else that we're dealing with right now. Um, We'll have Hofstra head coach Joe Mihalik in a little while. Hofstra's had a very good season. They're trying to win a conference tournament. That's the only way for them to get into the NCAA tournament. We understand that, but they've had a very good season this year. 23-8. They've kind of got flown under the radar. Big game in the Big East tonight. Seton Hall and Villanova play. St. John's has a big game also. We'll get to that too. But I got to begin. I'd be remiss not to begin with some political thoughts after Super Tuesday. And as I said to you yesterday when we talked, I said, the way this is shaping out is we knew that Biden had been revitalized after South Carolina and the Claiborne testimonial. We knew that he had used the time very well and gotten a ton of free media and put together a very forceful endorsement party that night before Super Tuesday with Mayor Pete and Klobuchar and O'Rourke, and that worked very well too. And I said to you that the Sanders campaign went in there thinking that they could come out of Super Tuesday up 400 or 500 delegates. And if the Biden campaign could be down 150, he would be right where he needed to be, and it'd be a new race. And instead, what we saw was one of the really amazing nights in the history of American politics. One of the remarkable movements. When you see a campaign get momentum and things surge, nothing could stop. Now, look where Biden was going into South Carolina. He was broke. He was on his last legs. He had to win South Carolina. People thought that Bernie Sanders was going to take it from him. They were waiting to see the impact Bloomberg would have on Super Tuesday. Bloomberg had flooded the Super Tuesday markets with hundreds of millions of dollars worth of ads. Biden had no money. Biden did not have offices open in many Super Tuesday states. He did not run a commercial in a good number of states. And he put forth a performance last night where the free use of media that he used, from the speech he gave Saturday night after winning in South Carolina, after the Claiborne endorsement, was the best speech he ever gave in his life. It was also the first primary he'd ever won in his entire career. This guy's been running for president for 35 years. And then you saw the party galvanized behind him in a way that was utterly remarkable. And when they closed the first poll last night, and at 7 o'clock, when they came on and said Virginia went for Biden, and then when Carolina closed, and boom, Carolina went for Biden, they didn't even wait. You knew Biden was off to the races, and it just got bigger and stronger and better as the night went on, winning as he did in Massachusetts, where 3 days before people thought he wouldn't get more than 5% of the vote. He wins Massachusetts. He wins Texas without spending $1 on the air in Texas. Not one single dollar. This Super Tuesday night performance by Biden will be examined by political people forever. He did not have a field office in many of the states that he won. He spent no money in California. Bernie Sanders had 23 field offices. Biden had one. He did not spend a dollar on the air there. He did not spend a dollar on the air in many of the states. He only spent $2 million on advertising the entire Super Tuesday landscape. $2 million. And with that being the case, he won everything the entire night. Now, you knew he wasn't going to win Colorado because it was an early voting state and the votes were already in before South Carolina. Anywhere that was the case, he had to run from behind. But he won Minnesota because Klobuchar got out of the race and endorsed him. He won Texas, I think, because of what went on there with their three-headed endorsement on Monday night. He won Carolina, Virginia, Arkansas, Tennessee, Oklahoma, Alabama, go down the line, and did a great job in Texas, winning Texas, which was stunning, and then putting up a great fight in California, which Bernie Sanders, who you saw came on stunned last night, still saying he's going to get the nomination, but knowing that he is in a bad way right now. And right now, Biden, as this thing clears with Bloomberg out of the race, having today endorsed Biden, Warren stays in the race, which does not hurt Biden, it hurts Sanders. And the states that are going to line up starting next Tuesday are going to line up enormously behind Biden. This is Biden's race to lose. The surge he has gotten is almost amazing. And now he leads the delegate count. And I think barring something very strange happening, and this isn't the case of Bernie Sanders getting screwed out of it like he did last time by Hillary. This is the case of this party coalescing behind Biden because they didn't want Sanders to be the runner, to be the nominee. And he not only did well, he also turned out enormous numbers. He dominated the black vote. He dominated the suburban vote. He did it's just unbelievable. Now, I expect Warren to get out in the next couple of days, too. I don't think there's any reason for her to stay in. When you finish third in your state, what are you doing? You're just spending money and burning money for no reason. Get out. And Bernie, if they're close at all, and I think they are fairly close, although they've gone after each other a little bit here, but I think they run along the same line. All she can do now is hurt Bernie Sanders, who thinks he still has a chance, and I guess he still has an outside chance, but it will be stunning if Biden doesn't run away and hide now, and I think he will. Biden most likely has won Maine, although it's not official yet, but it looks like he's going to win Maine. Win Maine. Win Massachusetts. Sanders won Utah, where Biden had no chance, and Colorado, where he had no chance, and won Vermont, which is his state. This was one of the most amazing performances that you have ever seen. And he now has over a 50 delegate lead. And the states that are getting ready to line up are going to line up enormously. He's going to win them going away. And now he already raised over $10 million over the last couple of nights. He's going to get a lot of what Bloomberg has to offer. Bloomberg's going to give him a lot of stuff, including running a lot of anti-ads for whoever goes against Biden, including the president. And let's be honest, it's shaping up now. What should be a very interesting, fall election with Biden, who is a serious threat to the president. Bernie would not have been, and the president. And I think it's going to be a very, very close race. I don't think there's any question about it. I think we are now set for a very, very close race. So you have seen this guy be energized. And let's be honest, this doesn't mean that some of the things Biden's not great at he's still going to fumble names. He's still going to be an up and down debater. But he has energized, and now he's got a party behind him, and he knows that. And winning is contagious, and it also makes people confident. This man has been running for president forever. He has literally been running for president for 40 years. He was a senator at 29, well, right over 30. Right, I mean, it might have been 31 or 30 or 31. He was in politics at 29. He might have been a senator. I think you have to be 30 to be a senator anyway, I believe. He was there at a very young age. He's been in politics his whole life. He's been on the national landscape forever. He spent 8 years in the White House as a vice president. He understands the government very, very well. Is he the best debater of all time? No, but he's not bad, and he's actually been a little better lately. And now he's going to have an incredible groundswell behind him. He's going to look like the confident comeback kid, and he's going to have Barack Obama back there too. And you know, before too long, Obama is not only going to endorse him, he's going to be out there campaigning for him. They'll save that, obviously, until they get into the days of post-Labor Day. That's when they'll go and they'll use Obama. That's when that will happen. But not until then. But the bottom line is this race changed unbelievably. I mean, he went into South Carolina and he was on his last legs. We have not seen. I remember when Clinton turned the whole thing on his ear in New York with Imus's help. Okay, the interview that Clinton did, the Imus interview, which got him a lot of attention, which he even admitted helped him a lot. He made the big comeback and he got the momentum and took off. When you get the momentum like this in a campaign for the nomination, it's usually unbeatable. Nothing could have stopped. Nothing. Bloomberg sealed his own fate with his terrible debating and the way he had no answers for when he was attacked. And he's not a real Democrat anyway, and he was a terrible public figure as a debater. But he wouldn't have been able to do anything about the groundswell that we saw last night. This was a tidal wave. This was just a complete, really just movement that just came over and just took over the whole map across the country. And you would have never expected that 2 weeks ago from the way Biden was operating. His campaign was terrible. They were not raising any money. They were listless. He looked tired. And he kept saying that South Carolina would be his firewall. Do you know that we learned last night that Clyburn, who turned this thing upside down with his endorsement, was about to endorse Bloomberg 2 weeks ago. He was so upset with the Biden campaign. And then after the first debate, he said he knew he couldn't endorse Bloomberg. So he went back and figured out what he was going to do and started to take another look at Biden. But he was that close to endorsing Bloomberg, which would have launched Bloomberg for Super Tuesday and would have changed this race. But because Bloomberg's first debate, and think about how the debates do matter, because Bloomberg came in and got a lot of attention. And then he was about as bad on a public stage as any politician has ever been. To the point where he could not even defend his own record, which was actually very good in New York. Here's a man who has built a company from nothing. He started with nothing and built it into one of the dominant companies in the world. He couldn't defend that. He couldn't defend the fact he actually did a good job in New York. If he had gotten somebody up there who could defend him, if they had sent me up there to defend his record in New York, I could have done it as he is mayor. He was a good mayor. He got a lot done. Wasn't perfect. No mayor is perfect. It's a rough city to run. It's the second toughest job in America. Everybody knows. He didn't even defend it. Here's a guy who had made the largest donation to a medical school in the history of this country. He never even mentioned that. This is a man who had given away billions of dollars to research, to help climate control, to fight cancer, to do genetic, studies. He'd given away billions of dollars and didn't even pound the table and tell people that he'd done that with his money. So he hurt himself on a level that was, and he wasn't a Democrat, and he was the worst debater we've ever seen. And the fact that he could say, you want a winner, not a debater. Hey, debate in the TV age is a major, major part of running for president. It cost Nixon dramatically. People who listened to the Kennedy-Nixon debates on radio thought Nixon had won. Nixon was a incredibly experienced, incredibly nuanced politician. He understood government. He was very bright. He had been a senator, just like JFK, but he had been vice president with a very popular president. And anyone who listened to it on the radio thought he had won. But he was so ill at ease, so uncomfortable, sweating profusely. They said he was sick at the time. While Kennedy was tan, wore the right clothes, understood the medium, was a very crafty public speaker, and not a great one early in his career at all. Became a great orator, but not a great one early in his career. But from that debate forward, it became about the use of television to sell the candidate. You cannot fail in that medium and win. This is not getting on the back of a train and doing a whistle stop tour, okay? That went out with Truman. It worked for Truman. Obviously, to pull the greatest upset in political history. I mean, you know that in that year, that after Labor Day, they stopped polling because Dewey was so in front. They stopped polling. They didn't realize that Truman was getting closer and closer. And in a story I've mentioned many times, Jimmy the Greek, at home in Steubenville, Ohio, actually sent women to work and poll people outside 3 supermarkets in Steubenville. And he had them ask the people over a period of a week whether or not they would vote for a man with a mustache. And it came back overwhelmingly that they weren't, and most of the people who answered were women. But it came back overwhelmingly that they weren't comfortable with the guy with a mustache. Showing the 2 pictures of the 2 candidates, he asked them that. And this was his reason for making this enormous bet on Truman. At 16, as the urban legend goes, at 16-1 was the number he quoted at the time. And I'm talking about making a bet, in the 40s that was in the area of $10,000, which would make the winnings about $160,000, which would be, somebody can do the inflationary numbers, probably, I don't know how many million, maybe 20 million now. I'm not sure exactly what 160,000 would be. Think about what, in those days, an automobile cost a couple of thousand. A big salary was $20,000. So figure out how much money $160,000 was in the 40s. It was many, many, many millions and millions of dollars today in real money. So that's what he supposedly was paid. Now, I don't know if he ever got all that money or not. Who knows? He did get the attention of the national press, all the way down the line. And that's where the Greek came from after that this guy called Jimmy the Greek had supposedly broken the bookies with this bet. And that's what he used, was this polling that he did in front of supermarkets, and told me how he sent the ladies to the supermarkets with the instructions to ask this one question, show the pictures and ask this one question. And he actually thought that his information, and that's why he always did his own polling before. He had his own little questions and his own little polls that he did before presidential elections. But never one came up like that again to that level. Although I could tell you that he was a very big proponent of Ronald Reagan because he was a big Paul Laxalt guy who was the senator from Nevada, who was one of Reagan's main men. And Laxalt used to call all the time with information because I used to take the information in. If Greek was away or he was traveling and stuff, and I was writing a syndicated column those days, and he'd say, Senator Laxalt's going to call you. You know, there were certain people who would call me with information for the column when I wrote a syndicated column, which I did when I was, very young, 3 columns a week for King of Features. And a couple of the people who would call me were Paul Laxalt, Al Davis, Art Modell. Those people would all call. They were among his sources. I would sit at his desk and, take the calls if he wasn't there. Usually he'd take the calls, but if he wasn't there, I would take them. And those were 3 of the people who would call him with information. As a matter of fact, 3 of his closest, especially Davis and Laxalt. Laxalt called all the time with this political stuff that we would put in the newsletter or put into the syndicated column. So he was always big on that. So politics was always a very big part of it. But it just shows you how quickly politics can change and a political scenario can change. You probably could have gotten, I don't know, someone might be able to frame the reference. I can't right now because I didn't look at it. If you had made a wager that Biden would be leading the delegate race today, last Thursday or Friday, you would have got a very, very big number that he wouldn't, because it almost looked like it was impossible. Just from California alone, where it didn't even look like Biden was going to get anywhere near 15%, which he needed to do to get delegates. And Sanders was running away, and Biden didn't have any money to spend in an incredibly expensive TV state like California, which is so big, and the markets are so expensive, and he didn't have any field offices there. So this guy, where you're told you have to have ground troops and you have to have representative numbers, Sanders was outspending him like by 10 to 15 to 1 in these states. Bloomberg in Texas spent $62 million to Biden's somewhere around 500,000 and got nothing. Massachusetts, go down the line, he didn't have money for any of these states. He didn't have field offices in any of these places, and he still won going away. In landslide numbers, won a lot of these states without having stepped foot in the state. So these people got on board based on him winning in South Carolina, him giving the speech of his life Saturday night in South Carolina after the win, the Claiborne testimonial, and then the Monday night Klobuchar, Beto O'Rourke, and Mayor Pete all showing up and endorsing him. And then a couple other people endorsing him along the way too. But no Barack Obama. A couple of Barack Obama's right-hand people did, but not a Barack. And instead, he just swept through and completely turned this race upside down in ways that people said could not be done without stepping in the state, without having a field office, without having any ads on the air. It is one of the most remarkable political swings in history. Nothing short of that. For him, he was polling 5th in Massachusetts last week, looking like he was going to get 5% of the vote. He won 33-27. Elizabeth Warren was 3rd in her home state. He didn't spend one dime in Minnesota. Not one dime. Yes, Amy Klobuchar endorsed him, but he went without spending one dime nor stepping in the state. He won there. He won in Maine. You have Warren and Sanders from that part of the country, and he comes up and wins in Maine over Bernie Sanders. That is stunning. And, of course, swept through the South because of his incredible dominance in in the black vote, swept through the South, as he did and will continue to do. And Bernie Sanders keeps talking about how he's turning people out. He's not turning anybody out. The only person turning out new voters and turning out lines was Biden. The people who were online were trying. There were people last night who were online for hours trying to change their early vote, which they had sent in, and asking if they could change it to Biden. And they were told they couldn't. If it already went in. If they hadn't put it in, they could ask for a new ballot. But if it had been sent in, sorry, you had to live with the outcome. But that was a big part of the confusion. That's how many people were trying to swing and have him change where he won going away. We have never seen anything like this before. I mean, it's remarkable what happened. And to have someone like Joe Biden who looked like he couldn't get out of his own way, who Clyburn in his endorsement even said, hey, this campaign has got to get its act together. And it's got to start raising money and getting its act together from an organizational standpoint. He even said that in his endorsement. So this was something they will write about for a long, long time, and it changes the entire election this year. Bernie won't get out, you know that, because Bernie cares more about himself than he does beating Trump. Beating Trump is second. Right now, Bernie wants to run for president. He wants that more than anything, and he wouldn't get out of this race no matter what. Even if he was told he couldn't win, and even if he told he was going to hurt Biden, he wouldn't care. Bernie's in this for himself and nothing else. That's who he is. You just know that. I mean, which doesn't make him a bad guy. Just that's who he is. Just understand that. That's who he is. He's in this for himself. And he will not get out of this race till it's over, officially over. But he needs to get Warren out of the race. He does. Biden doesn't need to get Warren out. It helped to get Bloomberg out. He needed to get Mayor Pete out. He needed to get Klobuchar out. He got that. He doesn't need to get Warren out. Warren's only going to siphon votes from Sanders. That's why Sanders is trying to get Warren out. I don't know if she'll leave or not. I have no idea. I would think she probably would, only because she's probably running out of money. That's the biggest reason. She's probably running out of money. And the money has gotten her nothing. Listen, when you run third in your own state, you have to look yourself in the mirror and say, it's not my time. It's not my year. If you can't win your own state, you don't even belong campaigning. You have to be able to be a favorite son or daughter in your own state. And if you can't do that, and you get absolutely blown away in your own state, it's over. I know it's hard to quit. She's been running for president for 2 years. She's probably been running for president for 4 years, but she's been running for president longer than anybody else. So I know it's tough to get out. I really do understand that. You put a lot into it. You put money into it. You put tears into it, your heart into it. You put your being into it. And I completely understand that. But there's no road forward for her anymore. They have been hit with a tsunami, and its name is Biden. Back after this. All right, we turn our attention to some college basketball. The conference tournaments starting to sprout up. Next week is conference tournament week. And then, obviously, we get ready for the Selection Sunday show, which is a week from Sunday. The tournament begins with the playing games on Tuesday night. So it's time for March Madness, and hopefully, they'll play in arenas where they will let people in to watch the games if this doesn't get too crazy with all this coronavirus stuff. But Hops just had a really good year. They don't get a lot of attention in the metropolitan area, unfortunately, but they've been very, very good. Joe Mihalik has done a very good job year after year with this team, and they've had a very good year. They're 23-8. It is a very, very tough conference for a northern school to win. Really brutally tough. It really is. It's almost unfair from that standpoint. Conference tournament starts this weekend, so let's chat with Joe about his team. Joe, welcome. How are you?
Hey, Mike, man. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. All right.
It's a treat to be with you.
Tell me about this year's team.
Obviously we love these guys, and I knew a year ago we'd like them, but I'd be lying if I said, hey, I think we can do this again next year. The guys have been great. They've all kind of taken their games to another level, especially DeJour Bowie, who really should be the conference player of the year. If you'd have said to me 5 years ago, this kid's going to have a game where he scores 44 and 35 and lead the team in scoring and assists and steals and so forth, I'd have been like, I don't know, man. I think he's good, but I don't know about that. But the kids have been good, and we've just, I guess there's a good culture here. There's a good feeling in this locker room, and fun to be with these guys every day.
Absolutely. I mean, Bowie's had a tremendous season, 18 points. He's averaging 6 assists, leads the team in steals, as you said. And the team has played, very well, especially since the new year. Exceedingly well, except for I know the slip up against Charleston, which is always tough, and maybe I think there was a Delaware game, two close games if I remember right. But other than that, you've played very, very well day in and day out.
Yeah, it's been good. Our guys, it's hard to be consistent. I think we had a good February. I think we only lost once in February, which as I say to the guys all the time, if you want to be good in March, you better be good in February.
Yep.
And so we were, but now, the old cliche, now everybody's 0-0, and we're headed to the conference tournament, and we're kind of starting over.
All right. What's your thought as far as the conference tournament goes? First of all, we've talked about this on at least on my show for years. This is a impossible tournament for a non-Virginia team. It just is. It's very tough. It's very hard to win. It's not exceedingly fair. You have to be a lot better than everybody to win the conference tournament. It's just a very tough. It's not the easiest situation. And I think there's been years when you guys probably could have won it or should have won it and didn't for that reason.
Yeah, whatever league you're in, the toughest league in the country.
Right.
That's the coach. Well, every coach will say that, but. And I'll say this about our league: it's the best. You know it because you're a guru, and because you've followed Hofstra for years. But it's the best league in the country. Nobody knows.
It's a very good league. It's a very
TV.
Very good league. The A10's a good league, a very good league, and your league, the CAA, is a very strong league. These teams get in the tournament and do well. It's a very solid league. It has been for years.
Yeah, it is. It's fun, and as you said, there is a strong Southern influence.
Yes,
that's okay. It's our guy, listen, we led. I think we're second or third in the country in road wins. So our guys are okay going down south and playing those games.
Yeah, how about 11-4 on the road, which is anytime, anywhere. Winning road games in college basketball is very hard. Al McGuire used to always say there are no upsets on the road in college basketball. So and it's true. It's tough to win on the road, especially against the better teams in your league. It's hard to win on the road.
Yeah, it is, and we were I think 8-1 in the conference on the road. So, but hey, listen, it was fun. We got a great bunch of guys. I just told the kids we just had 2 practices yesterday and today. And I said, hey fellas, this felt like the beginning of the year. These were the enthusiasm, the spirit, the emotion. They were 2 beginning of the year practices. Everybody's all full of life. It was just so much fun. They went so quick. We had 2 practices and. Man, we started before it was over, and I was like, wow, that was fun. So,
we're talking with Hofstra basketball coach Joe Mihalik, who's done a great job this year with this Hofstra team. Now, you've already guaranteed a conference tournament, postseason tournament because you won your league. We know that, but now it's about getting to the NCAA tournament, and people don't realize the difference that this makes for a school. If you can win this conference tournament, going to the NCAA tournament is such a big deal for schools like yours. It just launches you. It really is, and it's a hard thing to do in these one bid leagues. Very hard thing to do. There's no question about it. But if you can do it, it's really special. And this year, especially when you're at the top of the league like you are, there's a lot of expectations, but it won't be easy.
No, it won't be easy. You got to win 3 games in 3 days. And
how deep are you?
Yeah, you know what? That's one of our, you want to call it an Achilles heel. That is something we're last in the country, Mike, in bench minutes. So we're going to have a little bit of that Iron 5 thing. But lately we've been playing 3 or 4 kids off the bench. We got a big guy, Kevin Scutta, who gives us Cup some time, and Omar Silverio, Caleb Burgess, Stafford Truart. These are the guys that come off the bench, and if they can all give us, if they can just give us 3 minutes a half, 5 minutes a half, I mean, that'll go a long way.
Do you look at it? I mean, you can't coach one game thinking about the next game, and your rotation normally is what, 7, 8? What is it usually?
Yeah, 9 guys play.
Okay.
But the 4 guys that come off the bench, they're not playing a lot. I mean,
gotcha.
It's hard to take DeJour out of the game. It's hard to take Elijah Pemberton and then 3.
So can those guys go? Do you worry about them going the third night if they have to in a row? Do you have to be cognizant of that, or you can't even think about that?
Yeah, I think more the latter. I don't think you even think about it. Like, first of all, these guys are in incredible shape. Our strength coach is a guy named Jimmy Prendergast. He has no equal. We've been planning for this since September 1st. I mean, these guys are 21 years old. They're in the best shape of their lives. We're asking them to play basketball 3 days in a row. I mean, that's all they do. They play basketball every day, all summer long for 8 hours a day. So, the other thing is, Mike, and it's not a secret, we play a zone. We play a zone, and that doesn't, not that you don't have to play hard because our kids play hard, but that doesn't wear you out as much. It just doesn't wear you out as much.
No, absolutely doesn't. And a lot of teams do. Believe it or not, even in this era, with the 3 being the way it is, and it is such a. When you think of that too, I mean, that has become so much a part of the game now. It's utterly remarkable how it tips games. I was look at St. John's Sunday. They play Creighton, and Creighton came in as the hottest team, maybe one or 2 or 3 hottest teams in the country. And Creighton's number 9 in the country shooting threes, and St. John's is 307th. And St. John's makes 14 threes in the game, and Creighton can't put the ball in the ocean, and they beat Creighton by 20. And you say that it just shows you how games that is unbelievable what that can do to a college basketball game. The 3-point shot, it's amazing.
It is, and we on that note, we Saturday we set our school record for threes. We had 20 threes in the game.
That's a lot of threes, man. 20 is a lot of threes.
We were 14 for 21 from the 3.
Wow.
In the first half. That's good foul shooting if you do that.
That's unbelievable. When you think about that, 14 to 21. When you do that, you don't have to do much else. I mean, that's scoring 28 out of a possible 42 points. So I mean, that's as good as it gets. That's crazy.
I just hope we saved a couple of them for this tournament we got coming up. That's all I'm hoping for.
Excuse me, wait a second. I'm doing my math wrong. That's 42 out of 42. So you'd have to make every shot to do that. So if you shoot that way, that's like making every 2-point goal for all those possessions, and that's unbeatable. You're not going to lose a game doing that. What is your philosophy now? I mean, are you to the point where there's no good shot inside that arc? It's either get it in the paint, get it to the rim, or shoot a 3, or is there still the mid-range game that's allowable?
Yeah, I think a buzzword or a buzz term that coaches use is, and we use it too, make the other team take a tough 2-point shot. Don't take away their threes. No layups, obviously, but make them take a tough, maybe off the bounce, pull up jumper with you breathing down his face.
Get him inside the line.
Get him inside the line and make it a contested shot. And if he makes it, give him credit for making it.
Now, I've seen guys give clinics and say the worst shot in basketball is standing right inside that line and shooting the ball. So we know that going in. How cognizant are your guys about that? I mean, is the shot that's open right inside that arc, is that something the player's going to hear about, or can he take that shot?
Yeah, no. Listen, I don't like the guys to think too much, but we do want them to be aware of where they are. And if their foot's on the line, we're going to say, hey, you know what? If it's 4 inches back, you're getting 3 points instead of 2. And I think they just, in a natural way, they're very cognizant of it, and they're aware, and they just know where to be.
Are you surprised how much that has played into coaching now? The defending and playing. To me, it's made the 3-point. It's made the NCAA tournament and I go back to the old days of the NCAA tournament, it has made the NCAA tournament incredibly unpredictable because of how games can swing where, let's say you press and you shoot threes, you might have a 15-0 run in the game where all of a sudden, boom, 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 all of a sudden the game swings on a couple of threes. It has made these games incredibly unpredictable in the tournament.
Yeah, the 3-point line and the shot clock, combine those two things, and if you're up 20 or down 20, you get to keep playing. And, like you said, throw a couple of threes together, get a couple of stops. Next thing you know, that 20-point lead is 11 because you made 3 threes.
Who's the biggest threat in that league to you this year? What team is in your minds the biggest threat? Who's playing the best in your league?
I'm not trying to get cute here, but there's really 6 teams that could win it.
Okay.
Yeah, there really is. The separation between about 6 teams. So like we finished first, and Delaware and Towson and William and Mary and Northeastern and College of Charleston. They're all. I mean, it's going to be a rock fight every time you play. It's going to be a coin toss game. Every one of those teams. I don't think anybody would be surprised if. Let me think out loud. I guess Northeastern finished 6th. If they won it all, nobody would be surprised. I mean, they're a good team.
Do you like the way you're coming in? Are you playing as well as you have all year right now? Would you say that, or how would you say about where you are right now?
So we had maybe a 7 or 8 game winning streak, and we lost the next to the last game. We lost to Towson here at home, and then we had this game we've been talking about where we made all those threes and we beat James Madison. So, I hate to talk this way, but that loss was probably good for us. It's like a slap in the face to wake us up and remind us how bad it feels to lose. And obviously, we did some things not good enough, and it reminded us that if you want to win, you got to do all these things good enough. But we're playing. We feel good. We're playing. Our kids are confident. And more than confident, they're hungry because we got to the championship game last year and came up 6 or 7 points short. So our kids, the old slogan, unfinished business. That's how we feel. So our guys are playing good and excited.
Do you feel is there added pressure being the 1 seed? I mean, do you feel that with your team, that having the regular season that you have, being the top seed in your league, do you feel any added pressure from that as far as winning this conference tournament goes?
Yeah, I don't necessarily feel that way this year. I think because of what I spoke about a couple minutes ago, how everybody's so close. Our guys genuinely respect anybody we play in this league. And there's not that pressure, that feeling like, oh wow, we're 10 points better than this team. We're supposed to win. We better win. I don't think we feel that way. I think we just go in there hungry and anxious and excited and as I said, respecting the other team and knowing that if we play good, we can beat them. If we don't, we're going to be turning our uniforms in.
Do you talk a lot about the NCAA tournament, or it's not really? It's just the unstated thing that everyone knows is sitting there.
Every day we talk about. Well, I'll tell you what we do. Every day we talk about 3 days of March. Every day because we're one big league. We're one big league. As you said earlier, we're one. So every day, if not every day, man, close to every day, we talk about the 3 days in March because that's what you want to do. Play good for 3 days in March and climb up that ladder.
Well, it's been a good season. So you get UNC Wilmington Drexel winner. That's your first game, right? So you got to win 3 games in a row.
That's what it is. That's what it comes down to. 120 minutes.
And then we'll chat about you being about a 13, playing a 4 in the first round, and you take it from there. You know what? And this year, that's a very, for your team would be dangerous in the tournament. They would be very dangerous. That there's not a lot of, I don't think the 4s would be like unbeatable this year, the way it stacks up. I could see your team going in and playing well in the NCAA tournament.
Well, it's the greatest sporting event in all of sports because it's a month long and because of what you're talking about. Like the teams that are not supposed to win are going to win. It's the 3-point line. It's the magic of the NCAA tournament. There's nothing like it. There's nothing like it. And if we can get to be a part of it, man, that would be a dream come true.
You guys, is there anything you guys are doing or they're asking you guys to do in this conference tournament week with respect to just dealing with this possible health issue with the virus? Is there anything you guys are doing differently, or is it business as usual?
It's business as usual, but I think the higher ups are aware of what's going on, and thinking about some things that could happen. I mean, our conference even talked about, God forbid this would happen, that the epidemic would be so bad down there in Washington D.C. that the government would have to close some things, and if that happens and the tournament gets canceled, I think they talk about that, but I don't. Let's hope that doesn't happen.
No, hopefully, I know the NCAA's even talked about what would happen if they had to play the first round in empty buildings, but hopefully we don't get there. Hopefully we don't get there.
Yeah, we don't need that.
Well, listen, good luck. Hopefully you got a couple of wins in you here, and you get to the NCAA tournament because you guys have earned it. So hopefully that's the case, and we're talking about that next week. So good luck.
Your lips to God's ears, Mike.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it.
Thank
man.
you, Joe. Good luck, and congratulations on your season. Okay.
Hey,
Thank you.
man.
Joe Mihalik, the head coach at Hofstra, who's done a really terrific job year after year. Last year they lost the conference championship game. As you know, they played in the championship game, and that's heartbreaking. Heartbreaking because you're in a one-bid league. Now, this year they would go to the NIT because they won a regular season. They finished first in the regular season, so they would get an NIT bid. But they don't want an NIT bid. They want to go to the NCAA tournament. So that's what it's all about. They got to win 3 games in a row. They're capable of doing that. But it's a very tough tournament to win if you're Hofstra. It just always is. It's a Southern League. It's a Southern Northern League. The Southern teams are very strong, and it's tough to win down there. And it just is. So it's a very, very tough tournament from that standpoint. Be back after this. Every day, and this will continue right up until we get some final statement about exactly what Tom Brady's future will be. Every day, there will be another story. Today, there were stories about the fact that Belichick and Brady had talked and that they were not very fruitful talks. Who knows what that means? We don't even have a salary. We don't even have a luxury tag, a salary cap set up for next year yet. We don't even have a number yet. And Kraft is going to have a lot to say in this. Then, of course, this latest one that Brady is going to wind up in San Francisco. Now, you're going to tell me that right now, I understand where Tom's from. I understand what kind of fan he grew up. You're going to tell me that right now, at this stage of their development, the Niners are going to jettison Garoppolo off a very bad fourth quarter in the Super Bowl for a young quarterback and send Garoppolo packing and then turn the team over to Tom Brady right now? I mean, we've already gone through that Tom Brady was going to be on the Giants, which was ridiculous. He's going to be on the Cowboys, which was ridiculous. Now he's going to be on the Niners. I think Tom might be in every city in the country except Kansas City and maybe Green Bay before this is over. I mean, it's gotten to be a little silly, but the bottom line is nobody knows. As I've said all along, I would expect him to go back to the Patriots. If for some reason he doesn't, I would expect him to go to Tennessee. I think it is absolutely a perfect scenario. The team is far along in terms of its development. They have a guy at running back who will set up very good protection and will also make a lot of easy reads and throws for Tom with the play action game. And he is exceedingly close to the head coach, and he understands what the head coach thinks, how the head coach directs a team, the culture he builds, and everything else, because he obviously is a Patriot. And he and Vrabel are, from my understanding, and I don't know this from Vrabel and Brady, I know this from people who are close to both of them, that they are very, very close, is my understanding. I do know some people who are very close to both of them, and they say that they are exceedingly close. So that also keeps him close to New York, where obviously he has family issues. So again, we're going to deal with this. We're going to deal with the ups and downs. He's in, he's out, he's in, he's out, he's up, he's down. And then you're going to have him to every team in the league before too long. And you're just going to have to wait for this to unfold. And frankly, I don't know that Tom Brady knows what his future is right now. There are a lot of options out there. But the first one is, what are the Pats going to do? Are they A, going to turn their back on him? Are they B, going to make him happy in terms of what they're going to put forth in terms of personnel and placate him in terms of salary? That's the bottom line. You hear that Tom wants to play a couple more years? I believe that. I've actually heard that the number he throws around is 3. Is that possible? It's possible. Very possible if he had a running back like Henry to make life very easy for him. To where he could have an incredible economy of throws and would be throwing a lot into second and ones and third and ones, which is a dream for any quarterback. There's a lot of open area to throw into when you're throwing on second and one. Second and one is the best passing down that any quarterback can ever have, and it allows you just open area to drop the ball in off play action. So, I mean, there's no better scenario anywhere than that. That makes plenty of sense. Will it happen? I have no idea. Do not underestimate the pull that Kraft has towards Brady. It is very, very strong, and it should be recognized. So we'll see. I would still put the odds at 60-40 he stays in New England, but I'm not telling you that I know anything that's going on. I do not. I have not one clue what's going to happen there. But I do know how much Kraft how much he cares about Tom Brady. So I think it'll be very hard for him to say goodbye. We'll be back on the Fan in just a couple of minutes.
Mike's on. He's ready to go. On the Fan. New York Sports Radio. Mike's on. Mike's on. He'll get you the sports any way that he can. It's Mike Francesa on the Fan. Sports Radio 66 and 101.9 FM. WFAN.
All right, we join you on the Fan on this Wednesday evening, brought to you by Casamigos Tequila, brought to you by those who drink it, as always. And obviously, one of the things that is a very big story as we get ready for opening day is how the Mets will fare in the bullpen after a really disappointing year last year. And the Mets decided, listen, they made a blockbuster trade. They decided that they would give Diaz another chance. Now, they have not named him officially as the closer yet, but everybody believes that he's going to be the closer, especially since Betances, it looks like, will not be ready, will not be at full strength, will not be throwing at full velocity at the start of the season. That looks to be the case now from what we've heard so far this year. So he's not ready yet, although he is a very, very important cog and security blanket in case the refigured, having lost 30 pounds, Familia isn't very good and Diaz doesn't do his job. They kept Diaz. I was against keeping Diaz. I think sometimes a guy comes off a spectacular season, which Diaz had in 2018, one of the remarkable years. Allowed 40 hits in 70 innings. He was just overwhelming with the statistics, with the saves, 57 saves, the whole thing. And then he has a nightmare last year. Just an absolute nightmare. An ERA almost 6, a record number of home runs allowed in the ninth inning. Got tattooed after tattooed after tattooed. And to me, I just think some guys are just not made for this town. And I understand that's a rash thought with a 25-year-old. But if the Mets put their eggs in the Diaz basket and it explodes again this year, it will really be crushing for them. Now, he was on the Fan today. I did not hear it. I know he was on, so I want to listen with you now on some of the things he said, because nobody has been, and I know we addressed this, more of a naysayer than I have been, because I was dead set against bringing him back, and I've been very vocal about that. So here's Diaz on hoping to bounce back from last year.
Last year, was a tough year for me. I wasn't able to pitch the way I want to. I pitched in 2008 great, so I was looking to do that in 2019, but I wasn't able to do that. And this offseason, I work hard. I put a lot of work in my body, work a lot in my mechanics, in my pitches.
4,
And
3,
this year
2,
is a new year.
1.
We are ready to go.
All right. I mean, he's still 25 years old, so I understand that. And he seems to be a very, very nice kid, which you can tell from the interview. But how about he got in spring training this year? His first outing wasn't good, but no one cares about that. How about spring training so far?
Spring going great for me. I get here early, start working out early. My first outing wasn't
10.
good. I was happy about what I do in the mound. I secured my slaughter really good. I was
5,
able to command my
4,
fastball the way I want
3,
to, but my
2,
second start,
1.
I think I pitched great.
All right. Has he found the problem?
Last year I wasn't able to get up front with my fastball, the finger on top of the ball. And I go to the offseason, review the season, and I think that's the problem. So I focus in the offseason to try to stay on top of the ball with my
5,
with my slider,
4,
to
3,
be able to command
2,
my fastball away and my
1.
slider down and away.
All right, and I'll take the hit on some of this because the media, probably me more than anyone else, has been hard on him. I've been very hard on him. How about dealing with the media?
That motivates me, the bad season. Everybody gotta have a bad season one time in their career. So I think that was my bad season. I put everything together now. I had to prove. I don't have to prove too much because I put my numbers in my first 3 years in the big league.
4.
But I gotta work hard and try to do my best every time.
That he wants to prove the naysayers wrong.
Luis Rojas support me a lot last year. We one of the guys who come to talk to me every day and support me. And now I'm happy we're having as a manager.
Do we have the one on the naysayers or no?
That motivates me. The bad season. Everybody gotta have a bad season one time in their career. So I think that was my bad season. I put everything together now. I had to prove. I don't have to prove too much because I put my numbers in my first 3
5.
years in the big league, but I gotta work hard and try to do my best every time.
See, not everybody, and he's right. He had great numbers, including an incredible 2018 when he got 57 saves and allowed 40 hits in 73 innings. Last year, his ERA was 5.59. He gave up 58 hits in 58 innings, and he gave up 15 ninth-inning home runs. And lost crushing game after crushing game and just wasn't able to get anybody out in a big spot. Not everybody's made for this town. Look at Sonny Gray. Sonny Gray just could not pitch here. Go back to the days of Ed Whitson. He couldn't pitch here. Sonny Gray left last year, went to Cincinnati, which is a mediocre team, and pitched great. Not everybody's made for New York. Now we're going to see if I was right about that, and he has trouble again this year, or I was wrong about it, and they were right to keep him because he turned around and put together a spectacular season. Now, they did give themselves an insurance policy by signing Betances. Betances is not throwing hard yet. He's still overcoming, obviously, injuries, obviously, in 2 places. So he's got a lot to work with, and but if you have Betances up and clicking by May, he is one of the best relievers in all of baseball. He is one of the hardest guys to hit in all of baseball. And that may be a godsend if Diaz, and I'm not going to say anything about the fact he got out there and get hit really hard the first time he went out there in the spring, because I don't care about spring training. But I think that not everybody is made to handle the big stage in New York. And this guy, to me, just was not made for this here. And I am very concerned that they made a bad decision here. There were teams that would have taken this guy. Now, would they have gotten paid, 100 cents on the dollar? No, they would not have. You're not going to do that. They took the Cano contract because they wanted Diaz. I understand that. They still have Cano. They got to pay him. I think Cano will have a bounce-back year. I thought he had a bounce-back second half. I think he'll do better this year, playing about 120 games. I think he'll be good for this team. He doesn't have to carry the team. And he can just go about his business and do a very good job of being a leader on the team. But the question is, do you believe in Diaz or not? And I don't. I don't. The Mets do. And Diaz says, hey, everyone has a bad year. I'm going to bounce back. Now, here was his thoughts on Carlos Beltran to finish it up. Go ahead.
When that thing happened, I text him. I love you. I respect you from the field and outside the field because he's a great guy. That thing happened. But,
5.
I respect him a lot. So I want to keep touching with him.
All right, I give him credit for being loyal. You don't throw your friends away when they make a mistake. So I agree with that. All right. So you show some loyalty. I think that was nice. I think that's very admirable. This guy seems like a nice kid. He's only 25 years old. He's got really good stuff. But the thing about having a hellacious slider is what happens when you hang it. And having a really good fastball and what happens when you don't get location. This guy last year in 58 innings allowed 15 homers. Every one of them almost in a big spot. I just think there are certain guys that are not made for the pressure that we put players under here. And everybody in every town puts closers under pressure. But there's pressure, and then there's New York pressure. And it's not a terrible thing when you realize, like the Yankees did last year. The Yankees realized, and give them credit for it. They didn't go bang their head against the wall with Sonny Gray, and they said, you know what, Sonny Gray's not made for here. This isn't where he belongs. Let him go to a small town and let him compete. What did he do? Competed like really well. He was back to being a top pitcher again. His left town. He found what was right for him. I wouldn't, think badly of Diaz if that turns out to be the case. Not everybody's made to pitch on this site, in this locale, in these stadiums, with the inherent pressure that is built up day after day by just being part of the New York scene, whether it's Yankee or it's Met. There's still plenty of pressure on the Met side. Not as much as on the Yankee side in a big spot, especially in the postseason. But the bottom line is it's still a lot of pressure. And he did not handle that last year. Now, if you want to tell me it was all mechanical, okay, they're believing that. But they believed it until a point. They believed it until a point because they brought Familia back, who nobody in this town has any faith in. And I know this is the remodeled Familia. So, but you're not asking him to close. You're asking him to set up. And right now, you're going to ask Betances to come along slowly and set up. And you're going to let Diaz close the games. But you're not going to know when he takes it to the mound those first couple of times whether or not he's going to be the guy he was in Seattle in 2018 or the disaster he was last year, where he just destroyed this team's chances. You can't have a big closer do a worse job than he did last year. I mean, he came into game after game and just got absolutely tattooed. I mean, you're talking about not just hit, but clobbered. It wasn't like it was a walk and a broken bat single, and then somebody threw a ball away and you lose the game. They were hitting the ball off him 9 miles. He was hanging sliders. He was missing with fastballs. Does he have good stuff? Heck yeah, he's got good stuff. He's got really good stuff. You don't do what he did in the closer role if you don't have really good stuff. He's got really good stuff. But does he have what it takes to pitch here? Is that not the reason for what happens? Is there a mechanical reason? Did he just have an off season? As he says, just had an off year and he's back this year. And I admit, he wants to answer and, use the naysayers for motivation. I understand that. Good for him. And I admit I was the biggest naysayer of the bunch. I don't believe in him. I don't think he's going to be better here. And frankly, I hope I'm wrong because you know what? That would be very, very big positive. The Mets need a bullpen to be really good this year. If they want to get where they want to get to, if they want to get to the postseason, if they want to win 90-plus games and win at least a wild card or win a division and win 90-plus games this year, they are going to have to pitch really well out of the bullpen. They're going to have to win the 8th inning and the 9th inning a lot of times after their starter leaves with a 3-2 or a 2-1 or a 1-0 lead and not blow those games in the 9th inning or give up a 3-run jack in the 8th inning. That's where it has to be different this year. And he can tell us it's different. I just don't believe him right now. I don't believe in him. I think the Mets made a mistake bringing him back. I admit I am that naysayer right now. I admit I'm on that side of the coin right now. And I need to see that it's going to be different. He's going to get his chances, maybe as early as opening day. It's going to be him. It's not going to be familiar. I don't think, it does not look like, at least from what we've seen so far, it does not look like Betances will be ready to be that guy on opening day. I don't worry about that. It's a long season, but it looks like it's going to take him a little longer to get some of that snap back in what is an arsenal as good as any reliever has really ever had. We understand what the weaknesses are with him with Betances. We know what he can't do and what he can do, but he can be as overpowering as any reliever has ever been when he's on his game. That's how good he can be. He can be scary good. And I think bringing him along may turn out to be the move of the season. If Diaz fails, and unfortunately I think he's going to. He obviously has different ideas about it, and I respect that. You would think he would. You're sure Rojas does, you're sure the Mets have different ideas about it, thinking that he's going to be different this year, that he's going to answer all the critics, answer all the naysayers, answer all of baseball to the fact that, hey, this was just me changing leagues. I got off on a wrong track, and I never got it turned around. That this year, he's going to be the guy. We shall see. It couldn't be any more clear as to what the two camps are. Diaz on this side, Betances on that side. Back after this. In the Big East, Seton Hall hosting Villanova. Now, earlier this year, Seton Hall went and won at Nova for the first time in long, long time. I think back to 94 was the last time. They can wrap up the league here with a win. They have a game against Creighton coming up later this week. This is obviously a big game. Villanova's coming off a loss at home to Providence. They've had a couple of losses in the league this year. They're not your typical classic Villanova team. They struggle. I mean, against Providence, they shot 2-9 in the first half from the foul line, and they're a 77% foul shooting team. And they couldn't knock their threes down. They are bigger than recent Nova teams, but they are not equipped in the same way recent teams are, in that they just don't have the guard play. They can be erratic from the perimeter. They can be erratic with a lead. They can be erratic from the perimeter. Seton Hall looks to have righted the ship a little bit after those losses that they had. The coaching staff was tough on a couple of the guys about the effort they were getting. This is obviously a very big game. Both these teams are headed, to the NCAA tournament. That's not an issue in any way. Villanova right now, I think, barring sweeping the league and getting very hot, will be a 4. Could be a 3. Seton Hall could be as high as a 2 if they win this game tonight and then play well in the conference tournament. They could be a 2. They'll probably be no lower than a 3. So you got these two there. You got Creighton there also. You got a lot of teams from the Big East there this year, and it is wide open. But this is a very, very big game for, Nova has so dominated this league over the last 6 years. This will be a very, very big game for Seton Hall tonight, and it's a big game for Villanova. Not because they have to win it every year, but because if they want to accomplish something this year, they have got to get far more consistent, especially with their perimeter play, especially with their guard play. All right, a couple of calls real quick. Mark in Oceanside, what's up, Mark?
Hey, Mike. The reason that the Mets brought back Diaz is Brody is trying to save face. He got absolutely undressed in the deal that he traded at minor leaguers for a high-priced, washed-up infielder and a reliever who can't get anybody out.
Yeah, I listen, we know why he did it, and the guy was great 2 years ago. Relievers have bad years. I just don't believe he's going to turn it around, and a lot of people do. We'll see what happens. I mean, 2 years ago, the guy was great. He wasn't good. He was great, and he's 25 years old. He's got electric stuff. Let's see if he can do it in this town.
He threw batting practice last year.
He did,
Mike.
but 2 years ago he was on.
The
The guy throws 98 miles an hour. He's got a wicked slider. They think it was something they found that he was doing wrong. Let's see if they're right. I think they're wrong. I don't think he's made for this town. Either I'll be right or I'll be very wrong, and he'll do well this year. Thanks for the call. We'll see. As far as Cano, I think he'll have a better year than you think this year. Dustin in Bedminster. What's up, Dustin?
Dustin's gone. He's
All
out
right,
there.
Joe in Wyckoff. Go ahead, Joe.
Hey, Mike, I had 2 questions for you.
Yes.
And I've been watching a lot of the NCAA. I think those middle teams this year are going to do well in the NCAA. A lot of them. I just look at last night with Kentucky getting beat. They got blown out by Tennessee last night. At the end, after being up by 17, any of these teams can win on any given day. But I had 2 questions for you around Cespedes and Lowry. Are these guys ever going? Are we gonna get anything out of these guys this year?
I don't see and thanks for the call. I agree with you that the tournament's going to be very wide open. There are not a lot of top teams this year, and a lot of the name teams are not as good as they've been. North Carolina won't even be in the tournament. Kentucky's not great this year. Duke has struggled at times this year. Villanova, as an example, which has been so dominant, will not be dominant this year. The best team in the country, to me, clearly is Kansas. I think they're better than everybody else. We'll see what happens. As far as Cespedes and Lowry does not have a job. He's going to have to fill in. I just don't know when he'll be healthy. He's not a very important thing. With McNeil at third, Cano at second, leave McNeil at third. You want to spell him and put McNeil in for Cano, and then put Davis at third? Okay, that's if Cespedes is in the lineup. They got to get Davis at bats. I don't know when Cespedes will play, but he's on a contract year. He's going to be motivated. He's going to want to hit. He can hit. They got to try and get something out of him. But let's be honest. The Mets are going to be built around McNeil, Alonso, Conforto. Those are going to be, and then you can sprinkle in the other guys. That's their big 3. I think McNeil should bat leadoff. I think he's going to have a tremendous season. I think he's an all-star. I think Alonso will be good. He's not going to 50 homers again. And they need a good year out of Conforto, which means 30, 100 would be a really good year for Conforto. But the key to the Mets is going to be what they get from 3, 4, and 5 starters when they settle on those guys. Syndergaard, get someone to be a big-time closer, whether it's Diaz or Betances. Syndergaard being really good. And then having their defense not destroy the team. They have a chance to be a very weak defensive team. Don't let that kill a team that still needs its pitching to be a very big factor for it. Behind, obviously, their 1, 2, 3 starters and hopefully a decent bullpen, but they have a chance to be a very weak. At best, they're going to be an average defensive team. At best, and they could be far less than that. That's something they have to be careful of. And I would definitely bat McNeil first. Casamigos Tequila brings you the program each and every evening, brought to you by those who drink it. We thank them for their patronage, and we will see you tomorrow.